Good morning. Welcome to Easter week. Tonight we're going to be talking about, or today rather, we're going to be talking about foot washing. Now, this is something that's not practiced all the time in the Christian world, although Christ tells us that we're to do it. Maybe it's just something uncommon or something that's a little gross for some people. I get it. However, the commandment is still the commandment to do it, or the strong urge. So it starts at, they were reclining at the communion meal when Jesus got up and started this. I put it all in there so you can read it from John 13, 1 through 17. You see, it was hard for them to accept Christ washing their feet. I explain this a little bit more, but in those days they ate reclining at the table. The table may have only been less than a foot off the ground, far too shallow for you to put your feet under it, so they would recline and lay on their sides as they ate. This meant that your feet were close to the food. Now, people may get the wrong idea, but the feet back then, your feet, you didn't have shoes, you wore sandals, and you walked in the roads that were dirty and dusty and usually had animal feces in them. So to actually be that close to the food or where somebody's eating would have been kind of gross and not well received. So it was the job of the lowest servant of the house to wash each guest's feet when they came through the door, as well as the host. You didn't wear your sandals in somebody's house. Jesus, by getting up and taking off his robe, tying it around his waist with a wash basin, starting to wash their feet, was a true sign of humility, which is what he'd been trying to teach the disciples all along. In fact, he coins it towards the end of the chapter when he says, "No master is greater than his servant." He set the example and tells us to do the same. The lesson is strong in this, but I'm curious, how many of us do we treat our fellow man like slaves? Do we treat them with the dignity and respect that Christ treated us? You see, even the person that you loathe and despise, Christ loves. Christ loves and wants them redeemed. Here at DLM, I never give up on one of our guys, especially if I feel like the Lord has called me to them. I pray for them every day, regardless of whether they talk to me or not, regardless if their pride is keeping them from the truth they so desperately need and long for. You see, I see them the best I can, the way that Christ does, through the eyes of a child. I once told one of our really big, huge bodybuilders, I said, when I pray for you, I don't think of you as you are now, but rather when you were 5 or 6 years old. Because when you're 5 or 6 year old, or even my grandson now, who's only 2.5, you like to be cuddled and loved on. And pride has not gotten so big that you think you're too big to actually receive love. Now, we do have some big men in our program, but God is always bigger, and he loves you through the eyes of a child, not because of your sin, but because of your possibilities and the destiny that he has for you. So what will you do? This is Easter, the greatest time of sacrifice. Will you let your pride get in the way of all that God wants for you? Or will you begin to see yourself through his eyes? Even the whole universe is smaller than the palm of his hand. Yet he considered us worthy for his son to sacrifice. I love you all. Something to think about. If you're running from me, it's time to stop. I don't hold any grudges. Just call and talk. God love you and bless you all. Happy Easter.